Congress is debating lifting the ban on women in combat positions. But I ask you, are men and women equal? Equal opportunity laws give us the same job opportunities, voting rights, and equal pay. But are we really equal as human beings? Men and women are entitled to the same rights, but we are not equal physically. Congress should not lift the ban because as a female soldier, I know that we do not have the same physical strength as men. I know this because I train continuously to be in the best physical shape that I can be. Still, I cannot outlift the male soldiers who train with me. My second reason to not lift the ban is the men's reaction to women in the trenches. First, let's go over the physical abilities of men and women. The physical aspect of a woman is not equal to that of a man. The military recognizes this because they have different standards for males and females on their physical fitness requirements. As women, we do not have the natural muscle mass as a man, because we do not have high testosterone levels. We can weight train and still not build muscles as much as a man can. Bacall states, once puberty kicks in, men develop increased levels of testosterone, resulting in broader frames and increased muscle mass. Women, however, experience higher levels of estrogen, which results in more body fat, less muscle and bone mass, and lighter total weight than men. Further, women tend to have wider hips. All of these factors equate to slightly less absolute strength and muscle mass for women than men. In Chapter 14 of the Army Field Manual 21-20, a male that is between 27 and 31 years old have to complete 39 push-ups to pass the test, and for females of the same age only have to do 17 to pass. So by the Army standards, females are not as strong as males. As well as muscle mass, women cannot run as quickly as men. This is because of the lung capacity and the fact that female hips are naturally wider than males. Julie Deardorff states that statistically, women run 10% slower than men at all distances. The military has different criteria for men and women in the 2-mile run also. Same as an example earlier, I'll give the criteria for the ages of 27 to 31. The standard for men is to run 2 miles within 17 minutes, while women get a whole 20 and a half minutes. So why does the military say we are equal, but give us different criteria to meet? Captain Petronio, a female officer in the Marine Corps, has been placed in combat positions twice and states, I am here to tell you that we are not all created equal, and attempting to place females in the infantry will not improve the Marine Corps as the nation's force and readiness or improve our national security. She was physically fit above the standards until after both of her tours. In her experiences, combat takes a toll on everyone's body, but the rate of deterioration is faster in women and will increase crippling and career-ending medical conditions. Now that we understand that men and women are not physically equal, let me explain what distractions women can bring to the front lines. Women in combat roles could ruin unit cohesion, lead to more sexual harassment, and distract from the mission. There are a few ways that women can cause distraction to the battlefield. One is from fraternization, and the other is a possible increase in sexual harassment. New York Times states the DoD released a report showing an 11% increase in reports of sexual assault and a 16% increase in combat areas. From my experience, fraternization happens quite often, especially when co-ed units are stuck together for periods of time like basic training, advanced initial training, 2-week annual training, and deployments. I'm currently on a deployment where 2 people have been sent home due to their inability to complete the mission. Both soldiers were in relationships that ended while on deployment. Due to small bases and the fact that we all work close together, they could not take the pressure of seeing their ex every day, moving on with a new person. So one of those soldiers tried taking her own life, and the other sought out a counselor on base and was then sent home. I interviewed the first sergeant of the 3175th Chemical Company, who I'm currently deployed with. I asked in his 20 and a half years of military service, have you noticed a problem between relationships in the military? And he responded, I have seen lots of issues between males and females, period, in and out of the military because of a relationship, the people that are sent home, typically for relationships. It's not necessarily because it is between male and female, but because they do not know how to manage their relationships. Fraternization causes distraction from the mission. In most, if not all, deployments, it seems reasonable that we should keep that distraction away from the men who are on the front lines fighting for our freedom. Sexual harassment is already a large problem in the military. By placing women in combat positions, harassment will only increase. Dr. Amy Street states, sexual trauma in the military does not occur only during training or peacetime, and in fact, the stress of war may be associated with increases in rates of sexual harassment and assault. Research with Persian Gulf War military personnel, conducted by Jessica Wolf and her colleagues, found that rates of sexual assault, 7%, physical sexual harassment, 33%, and verbal sexual harassment, 66%, were higher than those typically found in peacetime military samples. With combat roles comes increase in stress. Our soldiers serving as infantry, combat engineers, and elite soldiers like special forces deal with compounding amounts of stress. According to the data, they are statistically more likely to rape a female. The solution is keep women off the front lines. The problems will increase if Congress raises the ban on women in combat roles. In America, we fight for freedom and equality. However, when it comes to men and women, there are some things that will never be equal. If the military wants women in the combat role, we are accepting the lower standards. And by lowering the standards, our military becomes more vulnerable to the enemy. The distractions women bring to the military can be detrimental to the mission. The male soldiers who fight as infantrymen, combat engineers, and special forces do not need added problems to their mission by integrating women in their combative mission. In conclusion, this is why you should contact your congressman or woman and tell them, no, do not lift the ban on female soldiers in combat positions.